Alright, what's up guys? So in this video, I just kind of want to go over exactly like the pros and cons of what selling on Amazon is like, because whenever you're first starting out, you're first like learning about selling on Amazon, it sounds super good, so it sounds like all I have to do is send products into Amazon and they sell everything, they handle the customer service, they handle the refunds, they do all of these things, and all I have to do is just send my products to them. That makes it seem like it's like, the golden way to make money. But there are some cons, and we got to be honest about it. I don't want to make it seem like it's the greatest thing. All right, just making sure the volume's working. But I don't want to make it seem like it's the greatest thing in the world. I mean, I think it's an amazing thing to, get a good side hustle going with, but we have to be realistic about it though. So when I first started, I was chasing this thing called passive income. And if anybody knows what passive income is, Amazon is not that. You are constantly working on this business. You're constantly sending products in. You're constantly doing the accounting. You're constantly handling the inventory. You're constantly dealing with things to keep it in line. And if you don't know what passive income is this idea that you put in some work to get to where you don't have to work anymore in order to make your money. Like you make money while you sleep, or you make money without doing anything pretty much. But you do make money while you sleep with this business, and that's really good, and it's an awesome thing. But passive income, I don't even know if it really exists. Number one, because if it does exist, it's a long truck uphill. You know what I'm saying? It's like raking profits. He says that he now, hardly works on his business because he's hired out everything. But he worked for like 10 years. I don't know, maybe somewhere in there. I don't know how long he worked, like reselling and stuff. But I think he's been on YouTube for like 10 years, following his journey that he worked in order to get to where he's at now. So for someone just starting or thinking about getting into the Amazon thing, it's like you gotta be realistic about it. Yes, you might eventually be able to hire everything out, and this might become a passive income thing, even though you're still gonna have to work with employees or work with somebody dealing with your employees, but you have to put in so much time to get to that point. The biggest thing that I think is, a misconception, because you see these big numbers saying like, oh, I sold a book for $100 and I bought it for $2 at the thrift store, so they made, this crazy amount, like $90 on one book. They profited 80 some dollars off of one book. That's, and you see that and you're like, oh my goodness, that's easy money. That's how I gotta do it. Now, whenever I first started, I was thinking, okay, I can do that. That's easy. And then you go and you do it and you sell that book, and then you're like, huh, I have to do that a ton of times in order to make this actually make sense. And that, I think, is the biggest thing that people don't understand is like, yes, reselling, in your mind, it's easy. Go buy something for cheap, sell it for more than you bought it. The difference is your profit. Pretty simple. But the concept of doing it over and over and over and over and over and over in order to actually make a business, I think is foreign to some people starting out. It was to me, at least. Whenever I was starting out, I got into it thinking, this is easy, I understand it, but once I sold one product, I was like, oh crap, I gotta do it again, and then I struggled to find that next product, and then I was like, crap, I gotta do it again. So it's really, this business is more about, how fast you can get more product. You know what I'm saying? So it comes down to this. This business is determined, at least I would say any form of Amazon business, selling product is about the amount of inventory that you can sell. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you find one book and it sells 1,000 times a month, okay, and it's an amazing book, it doesn't happen, by the way, usually at least, very, very rarely. But if you find one book that sells 1,000 times a month, you have to then buy that book a lot of times in order to actually make some money. So if you buy that book one time, 1,000 products, and you get back, I don't know, thousand, let's say you get 30% back and you make $300. So now you have $1,300. So now you have to go and buy that same book again, and if you sold it within like a certain period of time that you're happy with, then you can reflip it again. Then you have to spend that 1,300 that you just got back on more in order to roll it bigger and get it bigger and get it bigger. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to have money in order to make money. You know that saying? It's not wrong. That's the hard part to grasp, is you have to have money in order to make money in an inventory based business. It's very different from like a service based business. So like say I'm offering landscape, or no, yeah, sure, landscaping. Well, I'm offering landscaping services, and you can hire me, and I can price a landscaping business out at $1,000. Well, if I just have to mow the lawn, and I just have to, I don't know, trim the shrubs or something. So all my cost of goods really is the gas, and I guess the depreciation of my equipment. But main thing is just cost of goods is just gas. So really, I'm making a ton of money, a ton of profit off of that, but I am spending my time. So when it comes to service-based businesses, it's more about how much time you can put into the business. You know what I'm saying? You can spend 100 hours a week in Amazon, but if you're not spending the money, you're not going to get what you want out of it. You're not, if you spend, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours in the Amazon business, just doing all kinds of things that just isn't spending money, you will not get anywhere. You'll be in the same place you were for years to come until you start spending that money. You know what I'm saying? That's like hard for me to get to that. Jamie says, roughly how much would you say is a good number to make approximately 5K net a month consistently? 40K, 60K, 70K? Thank you. It's hard. It's hard to say. Because everybody is different. Every business is different. If you know who Joji Davenport is, his business is based on long tail books. So a lot of it is I think he's slowly going into seasonal, but his business is based on like long tail books. So he buys books not expecting them to sell for like a year, 2 years, But when they do sell, he makes a huge return. So for him, I feel like, and it also has time expectancy. You know what I'm saying? So you have to like take into consideration that he's pushing this big boulder up the hill, and he's rolling it big up a massive hill. And as soon as he gets to the top of that hill, it's good. You're good to go. But him pushing that boulder up the hill is him buying a ton of books. Whenever you got like Victor, he's pushing it up. He's a seasonal book buyer, and he's pushing it up 2 hills. So but they're not as big as Joji's hill. You know what I'm saying? So he's buying books for that seasonal. He's pushing up that hill, and then he gets some payoff. And then he pushes up another hill. So the first payoff is textbook season for high school. And then he pushes it up another hill for Christmas, and then another hill for January for the college textbook season. So it's hard to say an exact number that will work for you, because you can spend, say you said 5K net a month consistently. The problem is it's not ever going to be completely consistent with this business, at least with books, I should say. You can sell different products and maybe get consistency there, but you're always going to have a down period. You're always going to have variances with month to month, and it's just the name of the game. You can, like, for me, my last few months I've been in the negatives. I've been spending money. I've spent almost $20,000 this year so far, and it's like I'm spending the money, but the thing is I'm spending it expecting to get the payoff in August. So I've been going into the negatives for the last few months. It's been going down, 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 and then finally June hit. Now I'm popped up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So now high school season's starting. It hasn't really started, but it's we're getting to see the first ripples of it. But as soon as I get those first few months going, now August, I'm expecting to get a big payout because I've bought a ton of books in the expectation to get it then. Um, Now, if you want to look at it like for the year, I think that's a better way to look at it because my margins right now, they're actually kind of low, but my margins for last year, I think I ended at 18%, which isn't really good for books. But I was also transitioning out of buying like traditional OA products at the beginning of the year. So that's kind of pulling my margin percentage down at the beginning of the year, which, sucks. But now I should be able to see what my actual percentage is. So I'll be able to give you a more clear answer with what my numbers end up being in 2025. Um, but if you want to look at books, you got to look at the year, and to make, let's say, we'll say 50,000. I would say a good number would be to look at trying to sell, 100,000, and you might be able to make that 50. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that you can get 50%. I wouldn't be able to do that because I'm buying books, especially college books and stuff, in the expectation of getting like 30% or sometimes a little bit lower. But I'm making like a big, you know I'm getting like $20 back of profit, and I'm okay with taking like 30% ROI if I make $20 profit. You know what I'm saying? So that's gonna hurt my margins in that aspect. But it really just depends on how you're sourcing. Like I said, I'm taking lower margins to make $20, $10. But some other people like Joji, he's buying books that are 100% plus ROI all the time, but have a sales rank that's just terrible. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna sit for a while, but when it does hit, he's getting good. So for him, he wouldn't have to spend as much. I think he said he spends $100,000 a year, or no, sorry, no, he sells $300,000 a year and makes 100,000. You know what I'm saying? So that's if that can kind of get you in the idea that, but with his model, he's spending less money and making higher margins on fewer books, if that makes sense. So he may not be spending near as much as someone like Victor does, but Victor's getting a lot more sales possibly, but he's not getting as much margin back because he's selling books with a lot less margin. I hope that makes sense. but yes, that's the biggest thing. Like you have to wrap, if you're gonna sell on Amazon, you have to wrap your mind around this inventory thing, because inventory is very complicated, and it's not one size fits all. What works for me may not work for you, or what works for Joji may not work for somebody else. It just depends on what you're looking for. I try to get a good balance. I do source those books that are terrible sell-through rates, but I buy it super cheap and has a potential to sell for 100, 200% ROI. But I don't do that like all the time. I do it every now and then, because just getting that hit every now and then is worth it to me. But I'm mainly, this year at least, I'm mainly just trying to focus on seasonal books. I'm trying to do the Victor approach more than anything, because I know that's how you make the quickest money, at least the quickest turnaround, I should say, in this business. For a Joji approach, the high margin, you might be buying books for a long time before you finally see it pay off again. And for me, I go back, like I still have books from 2023, and I'll go back there and I'll try to drop the price on them just to get them out, because the storage fees, they'll add up. Then they get to where that, I can't remember what the date is, but some certain date the storage fees rises up a little bit, and it starts to eat your numbers out a little bit. Um, so you kind of got to take that into consideration as well, so that you're not getting eaten alive by that. But but I mean, but I also don't want to be completely negative, because there are a ton of pros to this. I've been able to grow this business while working full-time jobs, for the past 4 years now. And yeah, I'm not where I want to be, but I blame that on my shiftiness, I guess. I, I would go like thrifting, and then I'd see the flaws in thrifting, so I'd be like, all right, well, I want to be able to do this on my computer. So I went to online arbitrage traditional for a while, and that doing that shift, like I was building on thrifting, doing that shift, I lost ground, and I built that up a little bit, and then I saw the flaws in doing that, so I shifted back to thrifting, and then I found the online arbitrage for books, and I shifted to that. So I've kind of done three different shifts in 4 years, and if I would have just stuck to one, I would have been in a lot better position now, just because of you're going to be more experienced with doing that one method. Um, Jamie says, I understand selling 40 to 50% ROI books move much faster than crazy high sales rank books. I have been focusing on 40 to 50% ROI. Thank you for the content, bro. Keep it up. Thank you, Jamie. Yeah, 40 to 50% is what I like. That's kind of where my criteria is. I dip below 50%, 40, 50% whenever it's like a seasonal book, especially like right now. If I book, say I bought like 5 books of a seasonal book, and right now it's July, and it's coming close actually. I'm about to stop because I think July 15th is like the cutoff point where I'm not gonna be able to check it in before high school book season ends. But anyways, in June and July, beginning of July, I always like to, rebuy my books that, I've sold out. They're going to be a lot higher in price though. I'm not going to be able to buy the books that I bought in February or March at the same price that I buy them today, because obviously they're rising in price. I'm getting sales at a higher price. So it's, I'm gonna buy them, but it's gonna be like 30-20% margins that I'm gonna get. And the only reason I'm buying them is because I see that one, the supply is going down, and the demand is obviously going to still peak during that time. So as it goes down and that starts peaking again, I can just see that no matter if I buy it at a higher price, I'm still gonna make X amount of dollars. You know what I'm saying? But you got to read the keep graph and make sure that you're not, doing things that are gonna make sense. Don't buy something that's, peaking. You're not gonna really sell out most of the time with things that are peaking with sellers, and the price isn't really reacting. Or it might be going down because the seller count's going up. But yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to get on here and kind of talk about the pros and cons of selling on Amazon. I would say that there's a lot of pros. Like don't let me like deter you from doing this. Just know that it's not easy. It's not gonna be a walk in the park. And if you have it in your mind like, okay, if I put in 6 months of work, take that out of your mind. Just you got to start thinking, no matter how long it takes, I'm gonna make it. Because I thought, give me a year, and then that year came, and I was like, in another year I'll have this, and I'll have this down. In another year I'll have this down. And actually, this month, July, my business has turned 4 years old, and I'm nowhere where I want to be. I'm not a full-time Amazon seller. I'm not, profiting tons, but I'm not giving up. You know what I'm saying? I think that's gonna be the difference between you making it in Amazon and you just starting and stopping at some point. Most of the people who are like that stopped month 2. You know what I'm saying? They realize after that first month that, oh man, I have to continue to do this, and then they stop. But if you're on, year 2, year 3, and you're still not where you want to be, don't feel bad. I'm on year 4 and I'm not there. It's a tough business. I mean, any business is tough, and don't let the simplicity of reselling think that it's any different than any other business, because it's not. There's ups and downs, and there's confusion. You don't know where you're at. You don't even know if you're doing the right thing. Everyone feels that way. Everyone feels like, am I doing the right thing? At some point in time. Maybe the experienced people that are like raking profits, been doing it for 10 years. Maybe he knows that he's doing the right thing, but we're all at that point some point though. But all right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.